So there goes a sight, there goes a sight. Now there goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight, there goes a sight.
Okay, this is pretty cool. This is my third time out to this temple in about a week because I want to get this photograph and I want to show you guys how challenging it is, because I tried it on one of the other times. I tried to do the photo, but it just didn't work how I wanted, so I'm like, hey, why not come out again? So my name's Gabe. Thanks for following the YouTube channel. We'll keep doing some Cambodian adventure photography videos if you want to subscribe. You can see my work at the descriptions below. You can check out the portfolio and store and see some of the photos that I've taken and the kind of stuff we'll be shooting throughout the year. So thanks for watching the videos. Today we're at this temple. It's really, I live in Siem Reap, Cambodia, and there are lots of temples here, like Angkor Wat and a lot of the Buddhist temples. And so this temple is it's kind of out of the way. Not many people come here. I'm the only person here. I heard one voice here a few minutes ago, but right now I'm the only person here. And so you can see up above me, these are really old temples, and so I've got a pass right now. I didn't have to use my ticket to come in here, so I don't know if I'll have to use it today. But I'm here, and the photo that I want to take is not of of the temple here. It's of the inside. You can see here on the wall, they've got these windows, and so there's these tunnels surrounding the temple. So you can see they're over there too. There's like doorways and windows surrounding the outside of the temple. And so what I want to do is kind of jump inside here, and we'll look inside of the hallway, I guess is what you'd call it. And I'm going to shoot with a Sony A7R II Samyang 14mm f2.8. I'm going to do a total of 6 photos, 3 photos in one HDR set and 3 photos in another, because I'm going to focus on the foreground and focus on the end of the tunnel. And then I'm going to merge those together. You'll see those in the video. Merge the foreground together, merge the background together, and then blend them together in Photoshop, because I want to have total control of the light. And you'll see here when we walk inside this tunnel, we're just going to step in here, and I'm going to show you the photo. It's right down there. So these tunnels are so cool. Some of them are collapsing, and so hopefully this ceiling up here doesn't collapse while we're recording the video. So I'm going to show you the composition. This is not it. This is the wrong hallway. Let's go across to the other hallway. Sorry about that. But we'll walk here, and the temple's called Banteay Thom. I'll put a link. All my videos, I share the location if anybody else wants to go shoot them. Awesome. I'm not a photographer who's like, yeah, I find these locations and nobody else gets to know about them. I want you guys to know where this stuff is. I want to help you guys. I want to learn from you guys. I want you guys to learn from me. And I'm not too big on keeping all the information just inside my head. So let's walk inside this door. I think this is the right place. Here we go. Yeah, this is it. Let's walk down here. And this is the composition right here. Okay, so you can see here, this is it. Got this mud down here, like in this area right here. And it's got some bricks coming across with a little doorway right there. And then the tunnel at the end has a brick wall. stone wall, I guess, toward the end. But you can see all the texture is really, really cool with the rocks, the top of the rocks. Got some leaves, and then there's texture leading up all the way up to those rocks there. And so this is really challenging. The reason I do want to do HDR in this photo is because of the range of light, and that's high dynamic range is what HDR means. And you can see there are lots of highlights along this wall, and there's light, you know, coming all up, you know, on top of this. Look at all the texture, you know, on the ceiling. It's really cool. It's staying strong, so I think it's such a cool hallway. And I'm gonna try to, it doesn't look as good on the video as it looks in real life. And so that's one of the things about Cambodia that I want you to remember is, you see this stuff in this video, but if you come in real life and want to experience it, shoot me a message and I can take you out on a tour or something like that. And this is a cool place. If you want to come back to this place, I can bring you here. But let's shoot it. Okay, so this is the composition, and you can see there it's really bright. I usually turn it up bright so I can see the exposure and the focusing, and then I can crank it down to see the end of the tunnel down there. You can see how clear it is there, and you can see the focusing change as with the red lines as I increase the time on the exposure. And I'm going to be using my phone, and there's this app I use called Trigger Trap, and I just looked it up the other day and it's not a company anymore. So I've got this cable that I was going to refer to you guys, but you can't use it anymore. There's a new one called Arsenal. I'll put both of those links in the description below that are remote triggers. And Trigger Trap, I've been really happy with it. I use the smartphone to control my camera with the Trigger Trap cable. But you can see the exposure here. This composition, I like the composition. I like the light. And so we're going to try to get all the details, and then we'll jump into Aurora HDR, and I'll show you guys how the HDR gets mixed together, and then we'll do some quick masking in Photoshop, and that will be it. So here in Lightroom, and I'll let you see the final picture. Here are the 3 exposures I was talking about. If you look down here in Lightroom, you can see the exposure time. The shutter speed is 1/4 of a second. Here is 1/15 of a second, and here is a 1 second exposure. And this was with the Samyang lens, so it's a manual focus. And the aperture was at, I believe, 2.8. But we did those 3 exposures for the foreground, and the same thing for the background, 1/4, 1/15, and 1 second. And then we took these 3 right here, command click on these 3, export those out to Aurora HDR 2018. Okay, so here we've got the normal exposure, 1/15. Here's the slower exposure, 1/4, and here's the 1 second. We don't need to do alignment since we were using a tripod. We don't need to worry about the photos not being aligned properly, so we just click Create HDR. Okay, so here we have the HDR image brought into Aurora HDR, and I have just went into the basic category for the presets, and I don't really want to do anything crazy with the photo in Aurora HDR. I just want it to be merged so then I can take it into Photoshop. I just chose this realistic, and then I upped the smart tone to 30, and that was really all I wanted to do with this foreground. You can see the foreground is very clear all the way up onto the ceiling here, the ceiling of the tunnel, and down onto the floor and into this this mud right here in the center, in the branch coming out of it. That is all clear. I like the HDR the way it is, and I just click apply and it'll send it right back into Lightroom. Okay, so here we are in Lightroom with the exposure that we got from Aurora HDR. It's very clear. Did the same thing with the background with those 3 exposures and got this HDR. And so now I'll just take these two layers, just command click on the Mac on those two files, and right click on those two and do edit and open those as layers in Photoshop. You can see the background is blur and the background is clear. So I've got a background layer here and a foreground layer from those HDR photos. And if I zoom out here, there we go. You can see the background. You can watch this background. Right now it's blur because this is only the foreground layer. I've taken the background layer, same photo since it was on a tripod, same HDR settings from Aurora, and I've created a mask because I only want to see this area right here because you can now see it's clear. I don't want to see this area of the background layer because this area on the outside is clear on the foreground HDR photo. So I just create a mask. Now, if I look over here on the left side, I see a door and I see the end of the hallway, those rocks. I don't really like how blown out the door or the end of the hallway is. So I went and got the middle exposure.